Yeah, I know that. So this unit is going to be matter through the ecosystem, and then energy through the ecosystem is part 2. I start with this, and honestly, this isn't even accurate. I start with this to show you, look at the amount of vocabulary, and if you look through this vocabulary and there's words you don't recognize, keep that in mind, because you just took a test. There's application of vocabulary, so the strength of the vocabulary is key, and I promise you it's missing. And I'm going to do something for you after each cycle. I'm going to do a little vocabulary review, okay, to see how that works out. So we'll start with the law of the conservation of matter, or what I call the law of matter, which most of you know. So who could tell me what that is? Cannot be created or destroyed, but it can be what? Transferred. I like transferred. That's not one of my words. Mine is transformed. But I would put transferred, because that's true. Matter can be transferred from one form to another, or from one organism to another, from one place to another. What other words match? Did I hear it? Cycled or recycled. Put them both. What else? So I'm going to show you this slide. Maybe that'll help. What happens to matter in its states? What's happening to it? What's it doing? Is it really? I mean, yeah. Changing. Come on, people. Yes. Good job. Matter changes. Matter cycles. Matter transforms. I got last class. Alters or altered. Transferred. All of those words are good. And the reason I show them to you is because they're going to pop up in different ways on your exam. Anybody know what it means when it states matter is a closed system on Earth? What does that mean? And I kind of just explained it. You don't lose any matter, because matter can't be created or destroyed. The only time we break that law is when we take matter outside of Earth to like build a space station, or a meteor comes into Earth that contains matter. That is the only other time. Everything else, matter will change or transfer or alter physically, and it'll also go through chemical changes as well. So if it goes through physical changes, it's changing states. And we know that's what happens to what? Water. Water can be in the form of solid. We call solid matter high quality matter because the molecules are compacted together. As they transform or change into liquid, they become maybe medium. And then the last is gas. We call that low quality matter because the molecules are spread apart. So it's not what we consider usable, or it's not as usable as solid. That's the way we're going to reference it. And you're going to learn about that throughout this whole unit, both for energy and for matter. And remind yourself, matter is matter. Even though this unit is matter and energy through the ecosystem, matter is matter, and it has its own law and its own examples. And then when we move to energy, they're different, okay? So this is what we're going to learn about the cycling of matter. We're going to learn 5 cycles. Yes. And it's a combination of these compounds. What are they? The compounds that make up 96% of the human body. Oxygen is one of them. I heard the other one. Well, water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So we got hydrogen, we got oxygen. And we're definitely going to learn about the water cycle. Carbon. We're going to learn the carbon cycle. Nitrogen, nightmare cycle. Yes. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. What's left? Yes. phosphorus and sulfur. Chumps. So we learned the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle, and the water cycle. And since it's the day after the test, we start with the easiest, which is the water cycle. Is also known as the hydrologic cycle. And I tell you that because it's come up on the test before. And you want to be familiar with that word, okay? These cycles, we're going to learn, every cycle we're going to learn about where they travel through what layers of earth, organisms, and what chemical changes occur or physical changes. For water, it is strictly physical changes. All the other cycles go through chemical changes. The good news is you don't have to learn balance equations, but you will be responsible for compounds reacting and the compounds that are being formed, which are my products. So after each cycle, I will give you a review of compounds. Maybe that'll help, but there's a lot. So keep that in mind, okay? Now, when water, yes, question. All right, so when water goes from a liquid to a gas and it enters the atmosphere, what's it called? Where's the water coming from, by the way? Give me examples. Lakes, oceans, puddles, right? Anywhere on the surface. When water exits into the atmosphere, it's called evaporation. But if the evaporation happens from a living thing, which is a leaf, okay? What is that called? Anybody know? No? No? No. All good words, part of the water cycle. But this is a form of evaporation from the leaves of trees. So water exits the leaves of the tree and goes into the atmosphere. I never get it. It's transpiration. Oh, you were going to say it? Transpiration. I got it, period A. So there's two forms of, evaporation is the water changing from a liquid to a gas. But when that happens from the leaves of the trees, it's like a special thing because it happens to their opening of their pores. That's called transpiration. Once the water is in the atmosphere, then it condenses, which is when it turns from a gas to a liquid. And immediately when it's in liquid form, it can fall to the ground as rain, hail, sleet, or snow, and that is called precipitation. Water fell from the atmosphere in the form of rain or hail or sleet or snow, and then it can either fall, it can either fall in the ocean and go through evaporation again, but if it falls on land, it can go through this or this. So when it falls on land and it goes straight down, well, there's the word. What's it called? Runoff. Yeah. We call it surface runoff, and land has these channels that are perfectly made for this to happen. We've altered land, so this is happening at a slower rate, so the recharge of water is technically slower. Instead, this is happening, which is okay. It's still part of the water cycle. And this is the part of the water cycle people don't know. So I'm going to change this from enters the soil to into the soil to help you with the word. Because when water goes into the soil, that process starts with an I. Anybody know what it's called? Infiltration. So here's my water going into the soil right here. And then it goes through the rocks. Anybody know what that's called? I can't help you with any letters with that one. What? Nope. Nobody gets it ever. Percolation. So already 2 new vocabulary words for you, right? And then once it percolates through the rocks, it ends up down here. What is this? Aquifer. What we know as groundwater. And aquifers will also pour out into a large body of water. Like a lake, a river, oceans, all of those things. Now this little graphic, I want to remind you, if water falls into the ocean, it will be cycled right back up through evaporation. So there is no starting point or end point to any of these cycles because the cycle can start and end anywhere or go back and forth. Okay? Done.